All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Fall of Cybertron Kickback. And yeah, this is a pretty cool little figure. I've been talking about how a lot of the, generations Fall of Cybertron figures from around this time were not great in terms of having like a pretty low amount of plastic and not very sophisticated engineering. But weirdly enough, Kickback does not really feel that way. He's got nice, kind of solid, dense plastic. He's got an interesting transformation and a few kind of cool features. He definitely feels like a step up compared to the other Fall of Cybertron figures that were coming out around this time. Like, I like Shockwave, but he definitely feels a little bit light in terms of the amount of plastic, whereas Kickback feels pretty solid and beefy. And yeah, is by far, I would say, my favorite of the Fall of Cybertron figures. But yeah, here he is in his Cybertronian Grasshopper mode, and yeah, it's definitely the weaker of his two modes. It's a little bit cluttered looking with his like big chunky robot mode legs becoming the back of the cricket legs, or the grasshopper rather. I sort of wish that they had made the feet and the toes kind of like hinge closed, so you could have that be more of like a little bit more closed up of a foot here, because it is kind of just like obviously his robot mode foot. But yeah, it's an okay mode, but it definitely looks a little bit cluttered. He comes with this nice weapon here, which they were doing at the time, like including a bunch of like big ridiculous weapons that kind of mimicked what the weapons looked like in the game. And I think that this was one in the game. Like I think when you shot it, the disc would like bounce across the room and like kill a bunch of enemies, which was kind of fun. But yeah, no, it's a cool weapon. I really like its design. I don't necessarily always keep it with him, but just as a nice weapon to have in my collection, I think it is really fun. It does have a launching gimmick. It doesn't work super well. It used to work a little bit better, but like if you just push this, like lighter section forward, it notionally launches that. It works a little bit better if you sort of like grab these bits and squeeze and then push it, and then it launches a lot better. But yeah, it's fun. It's not like the most functional thing in the world, but as you can see, you can get it to work pretty well. Allegedly, I mean, I don't know if this was ever like an actual design intent or if this was just something people noticed at the time, but if you turn it around, it sort of looks like it's another little like cricket or a grasshopper, with these bits being like the back legs, and then these bits being the front legs, and then these little circles here being the eyes. And it kind of works if you want it to be like a little buddy for him. I think it would work better if these were like picked out in some sort of paint or something, so they didn't just like blend in. But it kind of works. And another thing you can do is you can unclip his like the like wing sections of his wings from the bug mode. They just attach via a clip here on the arms, and this guy does have peg holes right here, so you can attach these like this if you want it to look like even more of a little bug. But then you don't really have the wings for Kickback there. But it's kind of a neat feature. I don't necessarily see the bug thing. Like I see it, but it doesn't really like scream bug to me. So I don't know. I just prefer this as a neat little like disc crossbow weapon. But either way, it's a fun inclusion here. Now it does store in this mode. It's a little bit cluttered. I mean, this is a big ridiculous weapon, so like I don't know how well it possibly could have stored, but basically to store it, what you're supposed to do is take these little like clip sections on the wing arms here, and then these two little sections here, and they'll actually just kind of slot in like that. Oops, pushing the disc out. Kind of slot in like that to both of the wings, which does not help the cluttered look of the grasshopper to have this big ridiculous thing on it. Now it really does just kind of look like a mass of parts with like little bug legs and head over here. But like if you were just looking at that, like that's nothing, right? It's nice that it has anywhere to go, but yeah, I don't think that works super well. But it's nice that it was at least a thought to have it go somewhere in alt mode. But yeah. For whatever that's worth. But yeah, in terms of articulation for the grasshopper, the back legs, like I said, will just end up being the robot mode legs. So they're on a ball joint at the base here, and then they've got a swivel right there, a hinged knee there, hinged knee there that can only go about that far, and then same thing with this hinge as well, and then ball joints at the little toe feet section here, and then these arms are kind of like on a separate piece that are on a ball joint, so you can lift them up, but it doesn't really look all that good. And then the wings themselves are on ball joints. There's a hinge here, but it kind of separates the like inner wing section from the the like frame of it. So you're mostly just getting him to sit in like a regular grasshopper pose, but it's nice that he has the joints. In terms of comparisons in this mode, just for the standard one, here he is with a Kingdom Sideswipe for whatever that's worth, but that's what they look like together. And then for some other kickbacks, here he is with Legacy Kickback and the Prime Wars Legend Class Kickback. And I definitely think out of the three, this is my least favorite of the alt modes, just because it's very cluttered, but it was going for the Fall of Cybertron design, so it's fine. With how interesting this guy's transformation is and how fun the robot mode is, I can kind of forgive it having like a sort of lackluster grasshopper mode, but yeah, that's what the three of them look like together. And then to get onto transformation, you could just leave the wings on if you want. That's a possible place for them to store in robot mode, but I'm just gonna unclip them for the sake of ease here. And then you want to take the back legs here and just collapse them up like that, and then rotate them around on the thigh swivel, just like that, to be the robot mode legs, obviously. Take these sections with the front legs, and they'll kind of fold up like that, just to kind of get out of the way. And then you want to take this section with the, this back piece and his head here, and just rotate it around like this, so that you can take the legs here, rotate them down on the ball joints, and then they'll sort of like double hinge around like that on this joint here, so they can come and sit together like that for the robot mode. Then you want to take the back section here with the abdomen and just split it and rotate it down like that. Then you can take this whole section with the bug head and flip it around like that, so the lower jaw kind of sits on the back, and then rotate this whole section back, leaving the jaw there. And then you want to take these panels and just rotate them up like that to be chest armor. And then this central bit will clip over the two sections of the legs to actually tab this whole piece together, just like that. And you can kind of flip up his antenna and rotate around his robot mode head, rotate him around at the shoulders, then bring this down and kind of clip the shoulder pads into place. Rotate these sections around. You can swivel around his robot mode hands. You don't actually necessarily need to rotate those around for transformation, but it does keep it a little bit cleaner on the underside, so he doesn't have like the fingers kind of sticking out underneath, but whatever. And then you can take the piece on the abdomen here and just slide it up on his arm just like that. And then we'll do that on both sides here. And there we have Kickback in his robot mode. You can kind of adjust these little vestigial extra arms there that, were made out of the wing parts there. And I've always really loved the Fall of Cybertron Kickback design. I just think he looks super fun and creepy. Like, obviously in terms of like a definitive Kickback, I'd prefer the G1 look, but as a different take of the character, I do really like the Fall of Cybertron Kickback. He just looks like super creepy and fun. And he's got a pretty decent articulation as well. The head is on a ball joint, so you can rotate him around like that, and then you can adjust the antenna here, which can give him a bit of like expressiveness too, which is fun. Shoulders are on ball joints, which rotate around like that. You can kind of adjust the shoulder pad as well, and then they also hinge out to the side, both on a dedicated joint and then also on this transformation joint, which is nice. He's got ball joints at the elbows, which give him a bicep swivel and like maybe a degree over 90 of bend at the elbow. Like I said, the wrists are on swivels, which is nice. Nothing at the waist, just because of how this all folds down and clips together. Ball joints at the hips, which can go forward and back and out to the side. He's got a thigh swivel, a single jointed knee, which goes like maybe a degree under 90, but it works pretty well. And then ball joints at the feet, which give him a pretty versatile amount of range here, especially considering like how big and clumpy his feet are. One of my favorite poses to get this guy into, because he's got that forward ankle tilt, is you can really get him in this like little creepy kind of like, gremlin pose where he's just like, I don't know, being just a weird little guy. And that's what Insecticons are all about. I don't know. I just like that. And then the back pieces here, they're on ball joints as well, and then a hinge there, so you can adjust these arms as well. And these ones as well are on ball joints, so you can kind of adjust those, but they're really just kind of back kibble there. Now, in terms of his weapons, obviously we can bring back on his wing sections here, which you can hold kind of as like swords, which I think is pretty cool, especially because they have that translucent purple. I think it looks pretty neat. There's a couple options for storage. The easy one is that you could just clip them back onto the wings like that and just have them as wings sticking up over his shoulders to make him a little bit more reminiscent of like the, you know, regular G1 kickback design. I've never really liked the way that looked because, like, you know, I just find that like this with this design, I like the secondary arms a little bit more. Another thing, and again, I don't really know if this is intentional or not, but it's something that I found just with the sculpting of these, is that if you take this little cutout of the wing section here, it can actually kind of like softly click over these sections on the arms so that they can sit on his back like that. And, you know, it's not the most like secure thing in the world, but when you have gravity working in your favor, I feel like that works pretty well, and it looks nice and clean. And I really like that it has that storage option, regardless of whether or not that was actually intentional, because I'm not totally sure. It fits so perfectly that it kind of feels like it ought to have been, but, you know, it's also like loose enough that it feels like maybe it wasn't. But either way, that's pretty cool there. And then obviously we can give him his big ridiculous crossbow weapon from the game, which I don't know if it was ever specifically his in the game, but it's just a weapon that existed in Fall of Cybertron, and that looks cool. Like I said, I really like this weapon. I don't always necessarily keep it with him, but it's fun. And then another thing that you can do is take the wing sections here and unclip them and then stick them into these sections here to make it like really more of like a big kind of crossbow, which looks super cool. The his joints are, you know, not loose, but this weapon's kind of heavy, so it does, you know, kind of fall down over time. It was a little bit better when it came out. He's loosened up a little bit over the years, but still I feel like that looks pretty cool. Now, there's no real like dedicated storage for this thing. One thing that you kind of can do is if you like rotate these around like that, then you can use those clips that you had for bug mode to kind of clip it into the back like this. And then if you know, leave the wings on there, you can even have him have like a little, you know, wing pack here, which is kind of cool looking. But again, you know, you have to rotate the arms down to do that. So I like the look of the arms sticking up over the shoulders. So I don't generally store it that way, but that's, you know, the way that it's supposed to store, I guess, or it's a way that it can store. But either way, I don't know. It doesn't really work. I mean, you could, I guess, like peg it onto this hole in his leg, but it doesn't really work. It's just kind of a big ridiculous weapon. It's a shame that there couldn't be just like a peg hole in the back so you could plug it on like that, but either way, it's fine. It's, you know, it's kind of like a superfluous accessory, which I like the design of it, but in terms of like the figure in and of itself, I kind of just prefer to keep him sort of vanilla here with his regular stuff, and then, you know, leave this as an extra gun in an extra gun box there. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is again with Kingdom Sideswipe. So you can see he's a fairly decently sized deluxe. Like I said, he's got a lot of nice like bulk to him, especially in, you know, his like lower legs and arms here. And here he is again with our other two recent kickbacks. Obviously very different designs here, the one from the game versus the G1 designs, but still I feel like they look kind of cool together. You could give either of these guys this gun as well if you wanted that look going on. I think his elbow joints definitely are not. Oh, okay, he can kind of hold it up there. That's nice. Can we get the little guy to hold it? That would be fun. Wait, he does have 5mm pegs in his hand. It's like as big as he is, but yeah, you can get him to hold that there. But yeah, no, like I said, it's a really fun design, and I really like this figure. I think it is by far the best, especially in terms of quality, of the Fall of Cybertron figures. Shockwave, like I said, is good too, but it's mostly just good because like the design of Shockwave is nice and kind of simple, whereas this one actually feels like a solidly good figure with some, you know, fun accessories, fun features there, good storage for, well, I mean, good storage for at least the wings, and then as good as you could possibly reason with the big ridiculous weapon there in terms of storage. Fun articulation, a neat transformation. I like how he kind of flips around and turns inside out, and yeah, just a really nice expressive robot mode and a okay bug mode. But yeah, no, he's just a really fun figure overall. But that's pretty much all there is to him. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Generations Fall of Cybertron Kickback.